Previously on this podcast.
We are celebrating the 20th anniversary of Memory Alpha.
Hello, I'm Dan.
I'm Harry.
Jan and me both started the German Memory Alpha. Dan and Harry started the original.
Yeah, for me it was 4 o'clock in the morning on the red carpet, and then afterwards I had to go to work.
Watching the parade of all of the stars and producers going by. Simon Pegg was one of the last. We had 5 minutes. It was a great conversation just to meet him and talk for a couple of minutes and catch up. And then got to see the movie. It was kind of a thank you gesture to kind of recognize the fan contribution. If I'd had any input, I would have said, could you put Memory Alpha in there also?
I would have also liked to have seen Memory Alpha there. We just started this and then all the other people made Memory Alpha.
And now the continuation.
Did you play any Star Trek games? I can remember there was a first-person shooter at some time, or Star Trek Captain's Chair, I think it was named, where there was a simulation or something like this with the Enterprise.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh yes, I have. Actually, I think I still have the Captain's Chair disc somewhere. And there was the Omnipedia, which was basically the Star Trek encyclopedia on CD. That was such a great thing to interact with. The first Star Trek game I played, I've never been one for first-person shooters, but I did have the Star Trek 25th Anniversary computer game, which was that seriously pixelated, maybe it was 8-bit or 16-bit computer graphics. I didn't even have the version with the audio. Yeah, the adventure game, the puzzles, and that was my first Star Trek game.
Was that the one with Trelane in the Red Baron, or was that in Judgment Right?
I think that was Judgment Rights. The one that I had was it had Harry Mudd, and there were just a series of them. It was similar in style, though.
Yeah, I bought my very first computer with the excuse that I want to play Klingon. What was it? Klingon Honor Guard or so, and still it didn't really work quite well. But the Voyager ego shooter, that was quite successful.
Elite Force or something.
Elite Force, yeah. I think
they also had a mod for this, a TOS theme. So
yeah, I remember that's the one I played. Yeah, you could.
Yeah.
Dan has a collection.
Dan is standing up to install it now, and
I just realized I know where they are.
We have the evening on the online server with each other.
I just realized I have some of them here. There's the ship. I found my Captain's Chair disc.
That's nice.
Great.
Yes. And I remember this one was so neat, the Starship Creator.
Oh, that was a rip-off. That was a total rip-off. But it
was a neat idea, but
and you could download the database from there. It had a lot of names for all the different characters. They invented first names that were never used anywhere else, but
all made up.
Yeah, but the other gameplay I never really grasped, so I didn't understand the concept there. Did you have the one that was based on FASA, Starship Academy? No, Starfleet Command. Starfleet Command?
Yeah, Starfleet Command 3 or something. I think I played for a while. And I very briefly played Star Trek Online, but couldn't really get into it. But they have an important role these days as the provider of starships.
Yeah. Actually a good sign, so that their designs enter now the canon.
Yeah, it's quite interesting.
Yeah, I played how was it called? The first-person shooter Elite Force, yes. I played the Elite Force and I had the Captain's Chair with all those quick time movie events, but other than that I evaded Star Trek games because I had the idea that a licensed game would be a bad game, because many games with movie licenses were just bullcrap, let's say this. And the 25th anniversary adventure I never played. I think I didn't have a PC back then. I had an Amiga, and that's the reason why I didn't play this. My first PC came, I think, with a Voodoo 3D graphics card. So you can date this more or less how late in the game I was with my PC.
Yeah, I've always been a Mac person, so the gaming availability on the Mac has been mixed over the years. Some of them were there, and it just like Elite Force they made for the Mac. I just never, got too interested in that particular one. So yeah, that's I've never been a huge computer gamer or even a console gamer myself. So a few here and there, but not many.
And role playing? Back then, there was a big. It's a rich background material that they designed in the 80s for Farsa. Did you ever consider these?
Relatively recently, I have a friend who still has some of the FASA materials. So we do a regular RPG night, and for a few months, we did a Star Trek role play. That was a very fun way to pass the time because most of us were Star Trek fans. I also have between us we've got a couple of the tabletop Star Trek games. There's one called Fleet Captains that is really fun for any Starship nerd, and there's another one called Ascendancy.
Can you describe that for me? Because I have no idea about role-playing. How can I imagine that? Do you sit at the table and then invent your ideas? Or is it like a board game? Or
they're the board games, basically. So Fleet Captains, there's a bunch of miniature ships, and you lay out a bunch of cards all face down to represent the galaxy. And as you explore, you flip the cards over to find out what's in that star system. And then, of course, there's a combat aspect to it. So you're playing Starfleet, you might run up against the Klingons or the Romulans, and you fight it out, too. And then there's all sorts of events for exploration. You might end up meeting Q or the Tribbles. So that's Fleet Captains. It takes up a fair amount of time to set up with all the cards you have to lay out, but it's really fun. And then Ascendancy is a bit like, it's almost a bit like Civilization in a way. It sounds similar at first because you start with one star system and then you're exploring and, going out into the galaxy, but it's more on the strategic level rather than the tactical level. So you're building your colonies, setting up trading agreements with the other, alien empires that are around you. So those are the two tabletop board game style that I've played.
Did you ever hear about a card game, not a board game, but a card game named, I have it here in my hands, you can't see it because the communication cam went out. It's named Star Trek The Next Generation Customizable Card Game.
Never played that one, but I've definitely seen a lot of the cards and pictures.
Yeah.
Do you know Magic the Gathering?
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah, then you understand the idea. So you have to buy booster pack after booster pack after booster pack. I bought, I think, 5, 6, 7 pounds of cards. I can't count them. I just weighed them. I found them in the basement today, and you can hear this. This is the limited edition collector's tin box with a certificate of authenticity. And I have number 29,099.
Very limited.
Yeah, I think it's worth a fortune today, maybe €5 or 6, I don't know. And I even went to a tournament. I felt I had bought enough cards, and but I've never played the game. I think that was the problem with me, because I was the second to last in the tournament. So I lost, I think, every game except for one, maybe? I don't know. I can't recall this. So everyone was called to the stage to get the trophy and so on and so on. And even the last guy, so the last in the tournament, got a trophy, but not me, because I was I was not the last, but the next to last. Yes. That was a very disappointing evening for me. But yeah, that was my time with a card game based on Star Trek. I think the cards are very beautiful. So they have a very interesting idea on mixing the stories from Next Generation with the card game. But it went away fairly quickly, because I think they invented a first season or first series of cards and then played around a little bit with the rules. And then they had another series of cards. But I think in the third year of production, they just quit it and never released anything again.
Yeah. I also play a lot of board games and I love them, but I don't actually have any Star Trek related board games. But yeah, Ascendancy looks interesting. Maybe I should. I have the same thing what you said about video games. Usually licensed games are a bit, well, we have the license, let's quickly make a game, that's it. But I know a few. Star Trek Frontiers is another one it's based on another game, basically a reskin of quite a good game, but problem is I have the original game, so I don't know. Yeah, but other than that, I mostly collected the books. Like I have a lot of those FASA rule set books, especially the recognition manuals with the starships, or the Federation booklet with the aliens, of course. But I've never actually played the game.
Same for me. Yeah, I don't have the recognition manual. I don't think, at least. I look at my book box, but the Federation with the aliens. Yes, I have that. Other than that, what's your biggest collectible? So we heard about Florian.
Well, I have a few of those old books. I love I collected a lot of those, like 80s fandom starship manuals, the ships of the Starfleet, and the Star Trek maps. That's a little earlier, I think.
Yeah, definitely.
Federation reference series, that kind of stuff. Yeah, I loved I actually, for a long time, this is after Memory Alpha, I was in all sorts of Facebook groups with actually those people and other fans of that work. And we did a lot of like starship drawing and making up histories, all with the idea like what happens to Star Trek if you just take the original series and nothing else, like actually build on that, because they say a lot of things that have been changed in later series, but if you take just the original series at face value, they have a few interesting things. Like at one point they say, well, Vulcans and humans didn't work together for very long. So if you just take that, then you can almost build another version of Star Trek that's just that, which is quite interesting. I did that for a while. So yeah, I collected a lot of those books. I had a few of those models here, the AMT models. Yeah, that was fun. But I think, yeah, the most interesting things, probably the Starfleet technical manual, the first edition one, and the Star Trek maps, just because it's a really beautiful thing.
I'm also, I was very much into building the AMT models when I was in high school. and I've gotten back into that since the pandemic started. So I got a few model kits, some of them the official licensed AMT. I got a few resin kits as well, the ones that I can kind of assemble and paint myself. So that's been kind of a fun pastime.
Yeah, and then of course we have the Eagle Moss models these days.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, I had to limit myself to just buying original series stuff because
So tempting. So tempting.
Can't have all.
Don't have enough space for them all.
No, my house is enough Star Trek and Lego, so I can't put it everywhere.
Speaking of Lego, do you know the new Lego series? Not Lego. It's I don't know what the English word is, but in German we have to say Klemmbaustein. It's from one of the competitors, Blue Bricks, I think.
Fake Lego, you mean? No.
I mean,
yeah, I know.
The patent has expired, and so other companies are using it. And one of the companies has a nice collection of new stuff there.
They have the Star Trek license, right?
Yes.
Yeah. No, I don't have any of that. No. I might look into it now. What's that brand again? Blue
Bricks, I think.
Yeah, it's Blue Bricks, and they have several models. I think in two sizes. So it's display size or a smaller, like play around with size. Let's say it that way. Yeah, I remember one time I wanted to assemble my model kit for an USS Enterprise D, which was illuminated, and the problem was the model came with a drill, and the drill head was, I think, less than 1 millimeter in thickness because all the
fiber optics
had to stick in the hole, and I think I broke the drill head. And there was a spare one, but the spare one was also broken just with the next hole, and then I just threw it all away. Other than that, I had the Deep Space Nine as a model, I think. Deep Space Nine, and I think that's it. Yeah.
Yeah, I still have a moving box somewhere with half completed old models. I have the Enterprise C somewhere in bits. I have the Enterprise D with the nacelles came off. I have the Cardassian ship when the little saucer also came off. So yeah, someday.
You know that you can combine all the parts and bits to a completely new ship that's called, I think, Kit Bashing.
Yeah, Wolf 359 ship. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's true.
Next time on the podcast.
That kind of led to the transfer of the domain to Wikia. Would I do that today? Probably not.
We didn't really think all that much of it. I don't remember when they stopped using the Memory Alpha domain as the primary location for the wiki, and then just turned it into a redirect. Star Trek survived 2 droughts already. I know we'll be okay.
Thanks, Florian, for setting this up, for having this idea, for bringing us all together.
And I think we should also thank all the contributors over the years that have actually written all these articles for us and for the whole community.
So Star Trek will always reinvent itself.
So Star Trek is ever evolving, but always staying the same. And time is changing, so Star Trek is changing.